Morning, Joel.
Todd, how are you?
Good man. How are you?
Doing good, doing good.
Right on. Right on. So, Blue Jays minor league pitching coach. That has a
Yeah,
pretty damn good ring to it, doesn't it?
it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I have to pinch myself sometimes, understanding like what I get to do on a daily basis is pretty cool. And I think as you continue to be on the in the organization, like you see some of these guys that are starting to move up, and then in a couple of years being in the big leagues, and you get to be around them and all that. It's pretty cool and pretty exciting.
Yeah, no doubt. And talk to us about it. Of course, I'm trying to find questions and stuff and interesting things about you as I'm getting this thing ready. But I go to your LinkedIn and like, how good was that to and I would imagine bittersweet to post that you're leaving the Eagles. On the
Mhm.
same note, let me just mention that I'm going to be joining, the Blue Jays. Like, how good was that post to make, man? Wow.
It was cool. Yeah. It was exciting because I think there was a path that was thought I should go down with the college coaching, and then when I kind of had a change of heart of maybe I don't want to be a head coach, I want to stay with the pitching stuff, but would like to see how far I could take this, and then
Mm,
to have played and coached at the Division 3 level, and that's all I ever really knew, and except for a couple of years at Division 2,
mm.
and then now to be with some of these guys and just professional athletes is pretty cool. Pretty fortunate to be able to do that for sure.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's pretty incredible. And like, talk about maybe the hard work that it took to get there, because you've been coaching for a long, long time, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of study and stuff and trying to figure out. I actually was just telling some of our guys the other day when we were out here for early work about when we moved from Chicago to St. Louis last year. I found my first pitching manual that I ever wrote for my first year, and it was so bad. And so, like, just like looking back on just like the things that I was teaching and everything, and now what we're doing is it's incredible that how far the game has come and changed.
Yeah. And like, when did you start playing ball? Like, for me, I was a little kid. I played till about 12 or 13, and so till I realized, girls basically and music and stuff, right? But like, when did you start?
I started, so I think my parents actually lied and said I was 4, but I was really 3.
Oh,
Late birthday. So I started then and always played baseball, and then I was the type of kid though that, like, obviously baseball was my first love, but whatever season we were in is what sport I loved the most. I just remember as a kid, like, in the winter, I played hockey. In the fall, I played football, and in the spring, I played baseball. And if it was the summertime, I wanted to focus only on baseball. If it was the fall, I wanted to play football. If it was the winter, all I wanted to do was play hockey. So I was kind of a kid that never really just like specialized in sport until college.
mhm.
But yeah, just really just loved sports, loved everything about it. But baseball definitely was my first love.
Yeah. And how old were you, do you think, when you realized, like, hey, I'm going to go down this path? This is my baseball's my career. Like,
I think I knew in high school, as a player, I wanted to play in college. I felt like baseball was probably the best sport for me. And then I know, like, sophomore year of college, as I started to watch our head coach at North Park kind of do his daily thing. I was kind of like, man, this is kind of cool. Like, I'd actually like to do this. And so, um, was a business major. I was going to get my degree in business anyway, but wanted to kind of go the coaching route. And so I started asking questions, paying attention to a lot more in practice.
mm,
I think the other thing is, like, I was really obsessed with the preparation for like a start or a game from the pitching side. I mean, obviously, still love playing the game, but the preparation and just the things that we did during the week between starts or whatever, I was kind of obsessed with, like, how the routines that you can build. And so I kind of then was like, wow, this would be really cool if I could, help other people do that. And
mm.
so kind of the coaching excitement kind of came from that.
Yeah. And did you grow up, I don't even know how to say it, like idolizing players, for a lack of better words?
I did. Rick Ankiel was my idol. Obviously, he had some issues with the yips and being able to throw strikes, but he was my first idol. I wore number 66 for a really long time. But being born in Springfield, Illinois, like middle of the state, kind of in between the Cubs and the Cardinals, but we were so close to St. Louis. My dad had season tickets, so we were big Cardinal fans growing up. I remember going to games every year, four or five games every single year. So,
Mm,
but
that's cool.
that was fun. That was a lot of Cardinal players were, and obviously it was a really good time to be there. But idolized a lot of them. Um, but yeah, so pretty much all the Cardinals players from the early 2000s and
Yeah,
late 90s. But yeah,
yeah. And what is your first baseball memory?
my first baseball memory is sliding and getting told not to slide when I was four in t-ball. That's one of the big things I remember I was the only one in baseball pants. And so, yeah, I mean, that's kind of like my first memory in baseball is
Nice.
doing that and having someone telling me to not to slide.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And were you even born when the Jays in the early '90s were on a tear, like with
I was born in
Carter? And,
'89.
oh, okay,
Yeah,
so
so
you were
I was born
around,
in
but
'89.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so probably don't remember too much of it, but
But you've watched,
um,
you've gone back and
oh,
watched like
absolutely,
highlights and shit, like Alderud and
absolutely.
Gruber, and like
Oh yeah,
they were just monsters, right? Like, what was
yeah,
it about that team, man? They were just
they
insane.
were good. Yeah, I actually this spring training got to be around Pat Henkin for a while, and he
Oh,
was
sweet.
just talking about how those teams and how well they just gelled, and they're still trying to kind of replicate some of that stuff in our organization about how good of players they were, but also how great of teammates they were. I think that's a big thing within our organization is you can be a good player, but you also got to support your teammates and do all of that. So it's pretty cool to kind
Yeah,
of see that work out at the minor league levels.
yeah, yeah. If you could put together, and you're gonna be like, dude, really? If you could put together a team of current players, past players, who's making your roster?
Uh, Top pitchers are gonna be Roy Halladay, Chris
Yeah,
Carpenter, um, Adam Wainwright's probably in there somewhere. Yadier Molina behind the plate. Um, Probably like a Brooks Robinson at third. Ozzie Smith at short. Um, Second base. I really was a big fan of David Eckstein when he was with the Cardinals.
mm,
World Series MVP. First base, Albert Pujols. And then the outfield, probably go like Jim Edmonds in center, King Griffey Jr. somewhere, and probably like Mike Trout.
yeah.
Um,
Holy
have
crap! What
them
is
three.
what
They
does
can
Mike
just,
Trout make again? He's like, what is
uh,
like
it's
30,
crazy.
it's like 13 million a year or something like that, or even
Yeah.
more than
Yeah.
that?
It's a little bit more than that. I think it's like almost 30 million a year. Yeah. It's been
30
crazy.
million. Holy shit. Like,
Yeah. To
imagine that.
play a game. To
Like,
play a game.
dude, you know what? You're injured, just sit out. You just made $700,000.
Yep. Yep.
Insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, I love one of your LinkedIn posts. I'm gonna read it here. Good coaches with data and an understanding of how to apply it become great coaches. Technology doesn't replace coaches; it enhances their ability and maximizes their time. Talk about the differences of personal glorification when you play ball as a player versus now as a pitching coach.
Yeah. I think there's some stuff that I tried to get into early, and then you couldn't really find the answers because you didn't have the numbers behind what you were looking for. And so one of the big things when I became a coach is I wanted to be into the technology stuff and not just to spit numbers out to kids about pitch profiles or velos or whatever spin rate, what all the catchwords are, but is to use those to make them better. And I think what we've done here in Vancouver and at all the other affiliates with the Blue Jays is we do a good job of we have all the information behind us, and we can look at all of it whenever we want. It's always at our fingertips, but it's how we take that information and digest it to the player. And so like I think it's a big thing about like being really quick with your words. We're not going to sit here for 15 minutes and discuss one factor of the fastball, for example. it's got to be really quick because the kids, they need information really quickly. And so like I think some people like in baseball, it's a one side or the other. It's new school, I'm old school. The numbers are killing it. They're killing the originality of the game. But I think we can use both of them and kind of merge them together to help the players. And sometimes you see the numbers and they're great. You see the numbers and they're bad. But are you pitching well? Yeah. Well, that's fine right now. Like the competition is going to take over. The compete factor is going to take over, and we can worry about the numbers on another day. And so like trying to bridge the gap of being a little bit old school, being a little bit new school.
Mm-hmm. And did it taste better as a player or as a coach to get the wins?
I would say both, but there's some I think in the line of work that I'm doing now with the Blue Jays, like it's a satisfaction to watch these guys like continue to chase their dreams, like as they start to move up and they leave Vancouver to go to Double A. Like it's really cool to have those conversations and see how excited they are and like kind of live I don't know. I always say like it's like I'm a helicopter dad living vicariously through all these guys and like
Yeah.
you were gonna accomplish your dreams and like it's not about my dreams, it's about theirs. It's about
Totally.
them, so it's pretty cool.
But
I think
it's
that's
nice
one
to
of the
have a
things
little
that
piece,
really,
like you watch it, like, man, I showed him that. He knows that because
yeah,
of
yeah.
me. Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, and I think that's what kind of drives, the minor league thing is like, we play so many games that you're gone from home for 7 months. But when you get that kid that, whether he's a prospect or not, if you get him to Double A, that fires you up and kind of keeps you recharged for the next one. And then it's, who else can we get going? And I think that's how it kind of works. And you keep it interesting every day.
Yeah, yeah. You ever been starstruck by a player?
Honestly, so we had a prospect here last year, really highly touted pitcher, and it was funny that you say that because like that was my biggest worry when I took the job is
Mm.
like, I'm really gonna have to show these guys like what I know and that I'm a good coach and everything like that. And so I'm sitting in the office last year here in Vancouver is Canada Day, and this kid comes in, he's 19 years old, and he's like, you know, can I ask you a question? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, well, I'm starting today. Can you walk me out to the bullpen? Because I don't know how to say no to all these people that want my autograph. And that's when it hit me. It's like they're kids, right? Like they make all this money, they do all of that, but they're kids. And we people put them on a pedestal, and that's great. Like they're great people, they're great role models. But at the end of the day, like when you're around them, like they're they're just the 19, 20-year-old kids, and they like to have fun. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to do stuff that, you even look at your own kids and like, man, it's just a stupid mistake, but,
Yeah,
yeah. So I think that's where it really hit me is like, man, they're just people, like they're normal people just like me and you. And yeah, they're really good at a game, but, that's been a really cool thing to see is like, even the big leaguers in spring training, when they walk by you, they just say, hey, how's it going? Like they don't ever just like,
yeah. They're just
they're not
dudes.
too high above you. Yeah, they're dudes
Yeah,
playing a game.
yeah, yeah. I got a little taste of that last night. Actually, I took my kid to the. I can't remember the name of the rink, but he plays online, hockey when it's not
Mm-hmm.
regular season. And Bedard was playing last night.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, the kids were just going absolutely. There had to be like a 40 kid line to just see the guy, maybe get him to sign a cap or whatever. But yeah, you forget like, especially like Bedard's like 17 and
Mm-hmm.
they're on these pedestals but they're just people, man. They're just regular people
Yep.
like you and I, yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Joel, let's
Yep.
let's get outside of baseball and what you're known for a sec here.
Okay.
What are you binge watching with the family?
Oh, I will say this that Canadian Netflix is way better than the US Netflix.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, when I'm at home, it's I don't know. We just finished Ozark last
Yeah.
off season. We Ted Lasso, like all kind of the big shows. We watched all 4 seasons of You.
Oh, I didn't get into that.
But
It's kind of creepy, man. Like, oh,
I tried to get some of our other coaches on it, and they're like, after one season, like, I can't do this anymore. It's just a little weird. But
Yeah,
I mean, if the TV's on, it's The Office. I can have that in the background and just watch that over and over.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, it's those are pretty much my only shows that I watch.
yeah. Do you get into the superhero movies? Are you a fan of the comic books and all that?
Like I'm not really good with movies. When I'm at home, it's all these TV shows. I got two daughters, so I don't really have control of the TV too much. And so like just kind of, watching whatever is on there, but like we don't really get too much. I mean, we're mostly the Disney movies, with young kids, but
Yeah,
yeah, not too much in the movies or anything like that.
yeah. And what's the summer plans with the family?
They'll be here in 2 weeks. They're going to be in Vancouver for 10 days, and then they'll be back at the All Star break in July, and then be home in September. So
Yeah, right on.
for 4 months. So yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
usually make more trips. My wife is pregnant with our third, so and she's due in September. So it's like after July, she probably can't fly out too much. So
Wow.
we're gonna make those two trips, and then yeah, I'll be home in September. So be
Have you
good.
have you talked to anybody that has three kids, by the way?
I have not. No, we had two, and I asked my wife is always like, I want a big family, and I'm like, okay, well, if you're cool with it, like, we got I'll be gone for 7 months, and she's like, nope, I can do it. So she's a rock star. She's awesome. She can take care of it all. Never complains.
Yeah,
She's awesome. She's
yeah.
really good.
I've got a couple, and I was tossing around the idea of a third, and I have a few friends that have three, and they're like, "Dude, like the step of one to two, think of that. The step of two to three is even worse because now there's not an extra parent to grab that third one, right?"
Yeah,
So he's like,
yeah.
"Oh, this, yeah." So it looks like your life's gonna be
Yeah,
bacon
it's
and
gonna be
stirred.
crazy, but it'll be good.
It'll
It'll
be
be
good,
good.
man. Yeah, I love kids too.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna respect your time. I'll ask you a couple more, and then we'll wrap it up. What was the music like in your house as a kid growing up?
Uh, that was a lot of classic rock. Um, like just your basic like Leonard Skinner. Um, and then he kind of moved into more of like kind of a rockish jazz, like Steely Dan, Van
Mm,
Morrison, like stuff like that. I've loved music. I dabble in just about everything. We were actually just talking about this in the clubhouse the other day. Like if you're, last day of life, like you want to listen to music, what are you listening to? And so like I'm
what a
really
great
big in
question.
like
Last
the
day of life. Holy
yeah
crap, man. Like really put it on the line here.
yeah. So I'm big into like the red dirt country. Kind of like Cody Johnson, Casey Donahue band, um, Waylon Jennings, that kind of stuff. Like stuff that's not really on the radio.
Yeah.
Zach Bryan, Tyler Childers, like that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But at the same time, like it depends on what my mood is. Like if I'm working out, I can get into rap, rock, anything like that.
Whatever.
And
Yeah.
then just yeah. So I like everything, but if I'm sitting down and not really moving and just need music, it's usually like the kind of the country music.
And what was your first concert?
Hootie and the Blowfish on July 4th at the St. Louis River Fest.
Nice. And when was
Yeah,
that? Like, were they at the height of their
that would have
popularity
been.
or
Oh yeah. So that was probably late '90s or early 2000s.
yeah.
Probably early 2000s, like 2001, 2002.
Yeah.
So yeah,
What do you
I
remember
didn't have
from
it.
that day?
I don't remember too much. I know it was hot, but I was actually a fan of Hootie and the Blowfish just mainly because my parents listened to them, and
Yeah.
so I always heard them in the car. And so yeah, I just remember like I didn't really comprehend like what a concert really was until we kind of got there and they played music or whatever, and so it was pretty cool. We just sat on the lawn and kind of listened to music, and then we
Yeah.
always in Springfield, we always had the Illinois State Fair, which is I think one of the third or fourth largest in the country,
Mm,
and so big like country acts and musical acts would come and play every night, and so like I remember more of that, like being in high school, waiting for the track tickets where you're just pretty much getting in line and, hopefully that you can get in and seeing like Luke Bryan. We saw Luke Bryan, Lady Antebellum, Joe Nichols, a couple other acts too. Like we just kind of, I remember doing a lot of that in high school and like in the summer. That was the end of the summer. Like you go to those concerts, the fair ends, and then you're back in school. So I remember doing a lot of that, and then just kind of when I'm living in Chicago, going to college and everything like that. The one I really remember, so Casey Donahue Band is out of Texas, and we went to a bar called Joe's Bar on Weed Street, downtown Chicago, and we were sitting there, and they played my freshman year, and we got in there, and there was like 60 people in the place for the concert, and then they would come back every year, and so we would go every year. And by the time I had senior year, it was completely packed. Like just to see them kind of like continue to rise in popularity was pretty cool to see. So
yeah, that's pretty cool. Huh?
Yeah, but doing a little bit more of that with the music, like I like kind of smaller scenes. I think the last big one my wife and I went to was cool. Like he played for 3.5 hours, no opening act. Like it was unbelievable. So
sorry, who was that? You cut out
Eric
there
Church.
for a second. Oh, Eric Church, yeah, great
Yeah.
performer, eh? Wow.
Yeah, that was when he was running that tour of like no opening act.
Yeah.
Just like I'm gonna play, and he played for 3.5 hours, and it was between a rock and a country concert. Like it was great.
Yeah, he's great.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah. All right, last one. It's not a question, it's more of a story. Do you have a near-death story where you're like, holy shit, could have just died there?
So when I was 16, I think it was Halloween night. I mean, I'd had my license for, I don't know, like 20 days, maybe. It was raining, thought I was going to be really cool off of a stop sign and go really fast turning, and hydroplaned right into a tree. And so like I never really thought about it at the moment because I was mostly just scared of probably telling my parents. But it could have been way worse. So
could have been way worse, dude.
Yeah. So 16 days in with my license, I had a totaled car, and so learned my lesson on that pretty fast.
Oh, yeah. Same thing. I didn't wreck my car or anything, but about maybe 15, 20 days into having my license, I got stopped for speeding, going more than twice the posted legal limit. Almost lost my license right away. And knock wood, to this day, and I'm almost 50, I haven't had another speeding ticket since.
That's awesome.
I think it's just lucky, I think, if anything.
Yeah.
Joel, thank you, man, for taking some time out of your day today and joining us. So on Twitter, is it Bonnett or Bonnett?
Bonnett.
So it's Joel Bonnett 23 on Twitter, and then Joel _Bonnett 37 on Instagram. Is that right?
Yep.
Why the change of numbers?
So I wore 23 as a coach for most of my coaching career, but I wore 37 as a player. So a lot of my stuff that I was 37, and then I've always had a number around. I think spring training I was 33. I'm 20 here, so something around 23.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Right up. Well, thanks again for joining us today, and I guess we'll see you online, and go Jays.
That's right. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.